Jace had spent most of his months on the Helios orbit station, moving from one repair job to another, fixing whatever broke down before the scientists panicked. The station floated above a quiet blue planet, and every day felt almost the same to him: wires, tools, reports, and long walks through metal hallways that hummed softly. But today became different the moment he met her. Her name was Lyria, an alien researcher from a distant star cluster. She was quiet, gentle, and always kept her distance from everyone, not because she disliked them but because she never seemed fully comfortable speaking around others. Her species looked almost human, but with soft glowing patterns on their skin that brightened whenever they felt emotional. Most workers had never seen those patterns glow strongly. Lyria usually kept them dim. People called her calm, distant, or even cold. But Jace had noticed she simply moved carefully, as if she feared bothering anyone. Jace first saw her struggling with a small handheld translator device that had suddenly stopped working. She poked at it slowly, her fingers trembling just a little. It made small beeping noises, none of which sounded good. "Do you need help?" Jace asked gently. She looked up in surprise, as if she didn't expect anyone to speak to her. Her voice came out soft and musical. I think it is broken. It does not listen to me." Jace smiled. Maybe it's tired of being bossed around. The moment the words left his mouth, Lyria blinked and then giggled. A real giggle. Light and warm, like a tiny bell. It surprised him so much he almost dropped his tools. He had never seen her smile before, much less laugh. A few nearby workers even stopped to stare, shocked. No one thought Lyria knew how to giggle like that. Her skin patterns flickered brighter, showing a pale blue glow that slowly warmed to gentle pink. She covered her mouth quickly, embarrassed. "Sorry. Your words were unexpected." "Unexpected in a good way, I hope," Jace said. "Good," she whispered. "Very good." He fixed her device in less than 2 minutes. It only needed a reset and a loose wire replacement. She watched him closely, fascinated by how fast his hands moved. When he handed the device back, she held it carefully, almost shyly. "Thank you," she said. Jace didn't think much more about it. He went back to his usual tasks, though her giggle stayed in his mind longer than he expected. Something about it had felt rare, like catching a glimpse of a falling star. Later that evening, he walked to the station cafeteria after a long day. The room was filled with the usual noise of different species eating together. Humans talked loudly. Other species hummed, clicked, or stayed silent. Jace picked up a tray of food and found an empty seat in a quiet corner. He had barely taken one bite when someone sat down across from him. He looked up, and there she was again. Lyria sat straight, hands folded neatly, looking slightly nervous. Instead of her usual distance, she was less than an arm's length away. Her skin patterns glowed faintly, showing she wasn't calm. "Oh," Jace said with surprise. "Hi again." "Hello," she replied softly. I saw you sitting alone. I hoped that maybe, if I sit here, it would not bother you?" "Not at all," Jace said, smiling. "It's nice to have company." She relaxed a little, though her fingers still tapped lightly on the table. She looked at his food like she was curious but too polite to ask questions. He decided to help her feel comfortable. "So," he said, "how's the translator? Still behaving?" She hesitated, then smiled, small but real. "Yes. It listened to me all day." She paused. "Your joke earlier? It was strange." "Strange?" Jace repeated, raising an eyebrow. "Strange, but warm," she said. Her skin patterns brightened again. "Humans say many things that are not true, but they say them to make others feel lighter. It confuses me. But I liked it," Jace chuckled. "We call that humor. I want to understand it," she said quietly. "And you seem good at it." He didn't know if he was good at humor, but her interest made him try. He told her a simple joke about a human slipping in a hallway because he forgot gravity shift hours. It wasn't even that funny, but Lyria's reaction surprised him again. She giggled for the second time that day. Hands covering her mouth, and her eyes shining with bright curiosity. People nearby turned to stare again, whispering. Lyria didn't seem to notice this time. She was too focused on Jace. "You make it easy," she said. "Easy to breathe." The words were so soft he almost didn't catch them. Then, something even more surprising happened. She leaned in a little closer, her eyes studying him with new openness. Her species often leaned closer when they felt safe. But Jace had never been the one someone leaned toward, especially not someone like her. Her voice dropped to a delicate whisper. "Jace." He froze for half a second, shocked. Her tone wasn't flirty in a wrong way. It wasn't suggestive. It was more like she was asking if she could borrow a little of his time. Maybe his company. Maybe his warmth. She looked hopeful, not bold. "Plans?" he repeated. "Yes," she said softly. I wanted to ask earlier, but I was scared you would say no." He could see her hands tightening nervously. She wasn't asking for anything strange. She just didn't want to feel alone. Something inside Jace softened. "I don't have any plans," he said. "What did you have in mind?" Before she could answer, a sharp alarm blasted through the cafeteria. The screens lit up bright red. People looked up immediately. Alert. Energy grid. Instability in Lab Sector 9. All engineers report at once. Sector 9. That was where Lyria worked. Her eyes widened with fear. She stood up too fast, almost tipping her chair. "My lab, my equipment. It could be dangerous." "Come with me," Jace said quickly. "I'll check the systems." He grabbed his toolkit and started running. Lyria followed right behind him, keeping up despite her fear. The hallways filled with workers hurrying to their stations. The alarm's red lights flashed over their faces, adding tension to the moment. When they reached the lab building, they saw smoke rising from a panel inside. Nothing was exploding yet, but the energy grid was clearly unstable. Jace rushed to the main console and scanned for the issue. "It's overloaded," he muttered. "Something in the wiring is wrong." Lyria stayed close, her hands pressed against her chest. "Is it dangerous?" "It can be," he said honestly. "But we'll fix it." The word "we" gave her courage. She stepped beside him, trying to understand the readings. "What can I do?" she asked quietly. Jace glanced at her. She was scared, but she wanted to help anyway. That small bravery impressed him more than he expected. "Hold this stabilizer," he said. "If it slips, the current will jump." She held it tightly, focusing all her strength on keeping her hands steady. The glowing patterns on her skin flickered with fear, but also determination. Jace worked fast, reconnecting wires, swapping out damaged components, and checking power flow. The ground shook lightly as the grid tried to settle. Lyria gasped but didn't let go. "You're doing great," Jace said without looking up. Her voice trembled. "I trust you. So, I try to be brave." After a tense 10 minutes, the grid finally stabilized. The lights shifted from red to yellow, then back to normal. The alarm turned off. Lyria let out a long breath and stepped back, shaking a little. Jace closed the panel and looked at her with a gentle smile. "You okay?" "I think so," she whispered. "You saved the lab." "You helped," Jace said. "Really?" She looked away shyly, but her glowing patterns brightened. "You make things feel less frightening." Jace felt a warmth in his chest he hadn't expected. They left the lab and returned to the quieter hallway. The station felt calmer now. Workers walked past them, relieved. Lyria stood beside Jace silently for a moment, her fingers brushing the edges of her sleeves. "Earlier," she said softly, "when I asked if you had plans, I still want to know." Jace looked at her. She wasn't leaning close now. She was just standing there, hoping. She had no friends on the station. She had spent months quietly working, invisible to everyone. And now she was finally reaching out. "I'm free tonight," he said gently. "We can talk, walk around. Anything you want." Her eyes brightened with a soft glow. She nodded slowly. "I would like that. Very much." Jace smiled. He wasn't sure why. but he felt lighter than he had in a long time. Something was changing. Gently but clearly. Maybe tonight would show him what exactly that was. But before they could take even one step away from the lab, a message came through the station speakers. All personnel. Preliminary report suggests the energy failure may not have been accidental. Further investigation required. Jace and Lyria exchanged worried glances. Their quiet night together might turn into something bigger than either of them expected, and both of them knew it was only the beginning. After the station announcement warned that the lab accident might not have been an accident, Jace and Lyria walked slowly down the hallway, both carrying a new sense of worry. The lights above them flickered for a moment before stabilizing again, and the sound of distant machinery hummed around them. Lyria stayed close to Jace, her steps quiet and careful, like she didn't want to draw attention. She kept touching her fingers together nervously, showing that her mind was full of thoughts she wasn't saying aloud. Jace noticed. "You're thinking about the lab, aren't you?" She nodded gently. "Yes. If it was not an accident, someone could have gotten hurt. Maybe even you." The way she said "you" made Jace pause. She wasn't just worried about the lab or the equipment. She was worried about him. That touched him more than he expected. He tried to give her a soft smile to make her feel safe again. "I'm okay," he said. "You helped me fix everything before it got out of control." She looked up with a shy expression. "Only because you told me what to do. Alone, I would have been frightened." "You weren't alone," Jace said simply. Those words made her patterns glow faint pink, a quiet sign of comfort. They continued walking until they reached the observation deck, a large room with a curved window that looked out into space. A glowing blue nebula stretched across the darkness, its swirling light shifting like a slow dance. Lyria always found comfort there, and Jace had learned that many quiet species felt calmer when looking at open space. She walked toward the window and placed a hand gently against the glass. Her breath softened, and some of the tension left her shoulders. Jace stood beside her, giving her time to relax before he spoke. "About earlier," he said. "When you asked if I had plans, you can still tell me what you had in mind, even if things got hectic." Her patterns glowed again, this time a warmer shade. She turned her face slightly toward him. I only wanted company. I wanted to learn more about humans. And maybe," she hesitated, "maybe I wanted someone to talk to who did not make me feel strange." "You don't bother me," Jace said, lightly tapping the glass beside her hand. "And you don't seem strange to me. You seem thoughtful, quiet, curious." She lowered her eyes, almost embarrassed. "On my world, they said I am too soft, too slow, too emotional. I always felt out of place." Jace shook his head. "On this station, being gentle is a strength." Lyria seemed to take those words into her heart. She looked at him with a small smile, one that felt honest and warm, almost fragile. "I am glad I met you," she said quietly. Before Jace could reply, the observation deck doors opened, and an officer from station security hurried in. He spotted Jace instantly. "Engineer Jace Rowan?" Jace straightened. "Yes, sir. We have questions about the lab incident. Commander wants you to meet with the investigation team. We need to know if you saw anything unusual." Quote. Jace nodded. "Of course." The officer then looked at Lyria. She instantly tensed and stepped slightly behind Jace, not hiding completely but seeking comfort. Her glowing patterns dimmed, showing her nervousness. "And you are Lyria, correct?" the officer asked in a polite tone. She nodded slowly. "Commander wants to speak with you too. You work in the damaged sector. You might have seen who entered that area before the overload." Jace saw Lyria's hands shake. She didn't like being questioned by strangers. She didn't like being looked at directly by people in uniform, so he gently reached out and placed his hand near hers, not touching, but close enough that she could feel his presence. "It's okay," he said softly. Her breathing eased a little. When they arrived at the investigation room, they found the commander and 2 engineers studying the damaged components Jace had pulled earlier. The parts were laid out on a metal table, Some of them burned or melted. The commander looked serious. His arms folded tightly. "Jace." "Lyria," he greeted. "We're reviewing the cause of the grid overload. It seems someone replaced working parts with older, unstable ones." Jace frowned. "No one should have access to outdated equipment. Those shouldn't even be in storage." "Exactly," the commander said. "Which means someone brought them in." Lyria stared at the parts, her eyes soft but focused. Her species had sensitive perception of energy signatures far better than humans. She stepped closer, hesitating only slightly, then touched one of the burnt pieces with her fingertips. Her patterns brightened, glowing in waves of pale blue as she concentrated. "Be careful," Jace warned gently. "I am okay," she whispered. After a moment, she spoke again, her voice low and careful. "This does not feel like human tech." "Thanks." The engineers turned sharply toward her. "What do you mean?" one asked. "This metal, it has a trace," Lyria explained. "A trace of energy not from this station, not from human colonies. It smells like dust from the outer rim." Jace had seen her use her natural sensing ability before. She described different energies not just as signals, but as colors or scents. Humans didn't always understand, but she was rarely wrong. "Can you identify the origin?" the commander asked. Lyria nodded slowly. "I believe it comes from a scavenger fleet, one that travels between abandoned planets and sells parts on the black market." Jace's eyes widened. "You think someone smuggled those parts in?" "Yes," she said softly. "And I think—" The room fell silent. The commander looked at Lyria with new respect, clearly impressed. "Your help is valuable. We'll add this to our report." Lyria's patterns glowed stronger, showing pride mixed with shyness. The commander dismissed them for now, asking them to stay alert and report anything unusual. Jace and Lyria left the room together, walking slowly down the hall. "You did great back there," Jace said. "I was scared," she admitted. "But you were beside me. That helped." Jace smiled. "I'll stay beside you for as long as you need." She looked up at him, surprised. "Really? Really?" Lyria seemed to hold on to those words. She stayed quiet for a moment, thinking deeply. Then she asked softly, "May we walk? To the garden dome? I feel calmer around plants." "Of course," Jace said. They took the elevator and reached the garden dome. A large round chamber filled with green trees, alien flowers, and soft lights. Many species use the garden to relax. Lyria took a slow breath, enjoying the scent of the plants. Her glowing patterns became steadier. They walked along a path lined with tall leaves that shimmered under the artificial light. "Jace," she said after a pause, "earlier you said you don't mind spending time with me." "Why?" He laughed lightly. "Because I enjoy talking to you." "But humans like talking to many people," she said. "I am not many people." "No," he agreed. "You're someone who listens, someone who cares quietly, someone who finds beauty in small things, someone who—" He stopped, unsure if he was saying too much. Lyria waited, eyes open, curious and gentle. "Someone who makes this station feel less empty," he finished. Her glowing patterns shifted into warm pink, the most vivid he had seen so far. She touched her fingers to her chest, as if trying to calm her racing heart. "I am glad," she whispered. "Because you make me feel safe." Before Jace could respond, a sudden noise echoed across the dome. A maintenance door slammed shut somewhere deeper inside. A small light flickered above it. Jace frowned and stepped ahead, looking around carefully. "Stay close," he said. Lyria obeyed instantly, standing almost shoulder to shoulder with him. Jace checked the door panel. Someone had overridden it from the inside. "That's strange," he muttered. "Only workers should access this area." Before they could investigate further, another announcement came through the speakers. "All personnel. Unauthorized access detected in maintenance tunnels. Possible intruder. Security teams mobilizing." Lyria's eyes widened. "The scavenger fleet?" she whispered. Maybe, Jace said. He tapped the panel again. The system showed someone had been moving through the tunnels beneath the garden for at least 15 minutes. We should report this, Jace said. Come on. But as they turned to leave, the maintenance door slid open by itself only halfway, and a dark figure ran past inside the tunnel, carrying a bag full of stolen components. The figure looked over their shoulder and spotted Jace and Lyria. Then he ran. Jace didn't think twice. Hey, stop. He dashed after the intruder. Lyria, though frightened, followed without hesitation. The chase took them through narrow metal corridors, dimly lit and echoing with their footsteps. The intruder was fast, weaving through pipes and machinery. But Jace kept up. Determined not to lose him, Lyria struggled at first, but her confidence grew when she saw Jace's steady pace. Jace, she called. He is heading toward the lower exit, the one that leads to the cargo dock. How do you know? I can feel the energy trail, she said breathlessly. He carries stolen cores. They release a pulse. Her ability allowed her to track the intruder more accurately than any human could. They followed him down another level. Jace slid down a ladder, and Lyria climbed carefully but quickly behind him. The intruder reached a larger chamber and tried to lock the door behind him, but Jace forced it open with his shoulder. The intruder turned toward them, breathing heavily, cornered. He pulled out a small device. Not a weapon, but something that could trigger an energy pulse strong enough to knock them back. Lyria gasped and stepped behind Jace in fear. Jace raised his hands calmly. You don't have to do this. Just drop the parts. The intruder didn't listen. He moved his thumb over the device trigger. Lyria trembled, then whispered, Jace, let me try something. Before he could stop her, she stepped forward. Her glowing patterns brightened, turning a steady blue. She closed her eyes, inhaled slowly, and released a gentle wave of energy from her palms. It wasn't an attack, it was a calming field her species used to stop conflict. The intruder blinked, confused as the device slipped from his fingers. He staggered back, overwhelmed by the soothing wave. Jace quickly seized the moment, grabbed the device, and secured the bag of stolen parts. Security arrived seconds later. The intruder was taken into custody. Jace turned to Lyria, amazed. You did it. You stopped him. She looked exhausted but proud. I only used what my people taught me. We do not fight. We calm. It worked, Jace said. You were brave. She lowered her head shyly. Only because you were here, Jace smiled. We make a good team. She nodded, her patterns glowing softly. I think so too. And for the first time, she felt like she truly belonged beside him, safe, needed, and understood. After the intruder was taken away by the security team, the quiet of the lower maintenance level slowly returned. Jace and Lyria stood there together, both breathing deeply after the long chase. Pipes above them released soft puffs of steam, and the blinking lights along the walls made the shadows dance around their feet. Lyria's patterns were still glowing with soft blue light from the calming energy wave she had used. It took effort, and she looked tired. But she didn't complain. Jace gently touched her shoulder, not grabbing, just a light reassurance. You okay? She nodded slowly. Yes. Just a little drained. My ability uses energy from inside me. When I release it too fast, it becomes tiring. You were amazing, Jace said with a warm smile. I don't think anyone else could have stopped him like that. Not even security. Her eyes softened. I did not know if it would work. I was frightened. But you were in danger. So I tried. Jace felt something warm spread in his chest. It wasn't just gratitude. It was the quiet understanding that Lyria had changed because of him. She used to be afraid to speak. Now she had stepped forward to protect someone she trusted. Security officers invited them to the command center for a full report. The walk there was slow because Lyria needed a moment to regain her strength. Jace stayed close, making sure she didn't stumble. She held her hands against her chest, breathing deeply. Her glowing patterns gradually dimmed until they were soft and steady again. In the command center, the atmosphere was tense but hopeful. Officers reviewed security footage. Engineers examined the stolen parts the intruder had carried. When Jace and Lyria entered, the commander thanked them immediately. "You two may have saved the station today," he said. Lyria bowed her head shyly, unused to so much attention. "I only used what my people taught me. It is not for harming, only calming." "And you used it perfectly," the commander replied. "Your testimony and your sensing abilities helped us identify the intruder's origin. He was working with a black market scavenger group. They planned to disrupt our systems and steal high-value cores." Jace frowned. "Why? What would they even gain from damaging a research station?" "Chaos," the commander said. "When systems break, security teams respond. While that happens, the thieves steal whatever they can. The station's mixed-species research labs hold rare tech. Losing it would have been disastrous." Lyria shivered at the thought. "Many people could have been hurt." "Exactly," the commander said. "But thanks to both of you, we stopped it before anything worse happened." He dismissed them, allowing them to rest for the evening. As they walked out of the command center, Lyria let out a soft breath. "It feels strange," she whispered. "What does?" Jace asked. "To be praised. To be thanked. I never heard those words often before. On my world, I was quiet. And quiet people are easy to overlook." Jace shook his head gently. "Well, not here. Not anymore." She smiled a warm, small smile that reached her eyes. "Because of you." They took the lift back toward the upper levels. Jace was tired too, but his mind stayed alert, watching her carefully. Her steps were slower, but she didn't seem upset. She seemed thoughtful, almost peaceful. When the lift doors opened, Lyria stopped. "Jace," she said softly, "may we go to the observation deck again? The nebula helps my mind settle." "Of course," he said. They walked quietly through the dim hallway until they reached the large curved window. The blue nebula glowed softly outside, swirling with calm waves of light. Lyria sat on the long bench near the window and looked out at the stars. Jace sat beside her, not too close, not too far, just enough that she could feel he was there. For a while, she didn't speak. She simply watched the nebula and breathed slowly. When she finally did speak, her voice was gentle. "Do humans also feel fear like I do?" Jace nodded. "Everyone feels fear. But you run toward danger," she said. "I watched you chase the intruder without thinking. I could never do that." "Maybe not in the same way," Jace said. "But you ran too, even though you were scared." She tilted her head. "I followed you because I trusted you." Trust. The word stayed softly in the air between them. Jace looked at her. "And I trusted you when you stepped forward and used your calming energy. You saved us both." Lyria lowered her eyes, her glowing patterns warming to a soft pink. "I am happy it helped. I wanted to help you." Jace leaned back against the bench. "It did. More than you know." There was a quiet moment where Lyria seemed to gather courage before speaking again. "Jace, may I ask something?" "Sure. Why do humans smile when they feel something good inside?" "I saw your smile many times today." Jace chuckled lightly. "Because smiling shows we're happy, or proud, or relieved." Lyria absorbed this with interest. "My people glow instead. Our patterns change colors. But humans smile. It is a nice thing." "You make humans smile too," Jace said. She blinked, surprised. "I do? Well, you make me smile," he said simply. Her glowing patterns flared gently again. She turned her face away, a little shy. "I did not know that." Jace studied her carefully. She was calm now, but there was something else in her posture, something gentle, something open. After a minute, Lyria leaned slightly closer to him, not too bold, just enough that their shoulders almost touched. It was her species' way of showing trust, warmth, and connection. Jace stayed still, letting her decide the distance. "I feel safe beside you," Lyria said softly. "Today, when everything was frightening, you made me feel like I was not alone." Jace's voice remained steady. You're not. Not anymore. Not. She looked up at him again, searching his expression as if trying to understand something deeper. You said earlier that you would stay beside me. Did you mean it? He nodded. I don't say things I don't mean. She breathed out slowly, her patterns shifting to soft, glowing rose. Then I want to ask something I didn't get to ask in the cafeteria. He remembered instantly. The question she asked before the first alert interrupted them. Your plans for tonight? He said quietly. She nodded. Yes. Jace smiled gently. Then ask again. She gathered her courage, looking at him with honest eyes. Jace, do you have plans tonight? I hope. Maybe you can stay with me a little longer. Not for anything strange. Only to share time. Talk. Understand each other better. Her voice carried no pressure, no hidden meaning. Just simple, genuine hope. Jace nodded without hesitation. I'd like that. A lot. Lyria closed her eyes for a moment, letting relief wash through her. When she opened them again, her glowing patterns shimmered beautifully, like small stars moving beneath her skin. They stayed in the observation deck for a long time, talking quietly. Lyria told him about her homeworld, the floating gardens, the gentle rain that carried glowing pollen, the songs her people sang when they tried to calm storms. Jace told her about Earth, the tall cities, the oceans, the jokes humans told that didn't always make sense. Lyria laughed softly at his stories, her giggles gentle and musical. Each time she laughed, Jace felt his chest warm. Her laughter was rare, precious, something he didn't want anyone to silence ever again. After some time, she leaned her head slightly toward him. It wasn't a full rest, just a small gesture. In her culture, it meant deep trust. A silent admission that she felt protected beside someone. Jace, she whispered, today was frightening, but it was also beautiful because I learned how strong humans can be. And I learned how strong you are, he replied. She smiled softly. Maybe we are strong together. He nodded. I think so. Their peaceful moment was interrupted only by the gentle hum of the station and the soft colors of the nebula drifting outside. There was no danger now. No fear. Only quiet connection built through trust and shared courage. Lyria finally stood, still tired but steady. May we walk to the garden dome? Just for a few minutes? I like how the leaves shine at night. Of course, Jace said again. They walked slowly through the quiet halls, side by side. Lyria didn't hide behind him anymore. She walked confidently. Her glowing patterns, soft and warm, she stayed close. Not out of fear, but because she wanted to. In the garden dome, the gentle lights made the plants shimmer. Lyria reached for a small, glowing flower and held it up gently. This one is like the ones on my home. They open only when they feel safe. Jace watched her admire the flower. Just like you, he said softly. She froze slightly, then looked at him with shy surprise. Like me? You opened up today, he said. You were brave. You trusted me. You let me see who you really are. Lyria held the flower close to her chest. Only because you treated me kindly. No one ever made me feel as seen as you do. Jace took a slow breath, wanting his words to be steady. I'm glad. Because I want to be someone you feel comfortable with. Lyria stepped closer, her glowing patterns wrapping her in gentle warmth. You already are. They stood there for a long, quiet moment, surrounded by soft lights and green leaves. The air smelled fresh and calm. Lyria lifted her eyes toward him. And for the first time, she looked truly at ease. Not shy. Not scared. Just peacefully connected. Thank you, she whispered, for everything today. For staying. Jace smiled. I'm not going anywhere. She held the flower gently, her patterns glowing in perfect harmony. Then, maybe tomorrow we can sit together again? In the cafeteria? So it does not feel so big and lonely. I'd like that, Jace said. Lyria nodded, happiness shining softly in her eyes. She walked beside him, Her steps light, her patterns warm. For the first time since arriving on the station, she didn't feel like a quiet shadow in the background. She felt understood. She felt valued. She felt less alone. And Jace, walking beside her, felt something growing too. Something calm, gentle, meaningful. Something built on trust and small moments of laughter. As they left the garden dome, the nebula glowed through the windows, as if blessing the new bond forming between a human and a quiet alien woman, two souls who found safety, warmth, and connection in the vast, cold space above a distant world. The night wasn't special because of danger or action. It was special because Lyria finally felt brave enough to say what she wanted, and Jace was finally there to hear it.